Good morning and welcome to this press conference in the National Press Theatre. Today with us we have representatives from the Innu Nation, the Nunatsiavut government, and Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami. The floor is yours, guys.
Okay, good morning all. I'd like to thank you for joining us. My name is Simon Pokue. I'm the Grand Chief for the Innu Nation. I left the courtroom across the street to provide you with context on our case, to explain its significance for the Innu Nation. We are here to defend our right in the face of false and misleading claims of the NunatuKavut Community Council, NCC. The Innu have used and occupied our lands and waters in Labrador, called Nitassinan, for 9,000 years. Innu people were among the last indigenous people to be forced off our lands and into the settlements in 1950s and in the late 1960s. One of those settlements, Canadians may have heard of, what is called Davis Inlet. I'm originally from Davis Inlet. Innu suffered very badly in Davis Inlet because the government tried to erase our culture and ties to the land. We also suffer with the problems of Newfoundland and Hydro-Quebec, flooded an area of our lands larger than Prince Edward Island to build Upper Churchill. These are just two examples of many. But despite racism, despite colonial violence, despite destruction of our lands by resource development, the Innu remains strong as a people. We are strong because despite everything, we still have our language, we still have our culture, we still have our connection to the lands and waters. Most people will speak our language every day and out on the land, but it's not been easy. The Innu suffered a great deal because of actions of settlers and their government. Now we face new threat. The threat that our rights will undermined by NCC, formerly known as Labrador Métis. This is a group of settlers pretending to be an Inuit. When the group was formed in the 1980s, they openly accept people without any indigenous ancestry at all. The federal government acted irresponsibly in signing an MOU with NCC. The government didn't think about what impact would have on Innu. They didn't contact us, even though NCC is claiming all of the Labrador Innu territory, even though NCC is trying to stop Innu Nation treaty. With the resent that Canada and Newfoundland are giving NCC a platform to claim economic benefits and resources from Innu land. NCC dared to call Innu greedy for wanting to protect Innu rights, for telling the truth about NCC. Innu always claimed that we are engaged in lateral violence. If we challenge them publicly by saying they are not indigenous people, the opposite is true. NCC does violence to Innu by claiming to have the indigenous right, by taking funding that would go to the indigenous community. They are also adopting cultural practices of the Inuit, as if they were historically their own practice. Since 1977, the Innu of Labrador has been working toward the settlement of our land claim through Model Day Treaty. Our treaty, once concluded, will recognize and protect the Innu of Labrador Aboriginal rights and title to our lands. Land that had been ours, and only ours, for thousands of years. We have had to consistently push Canada and province to move forward within our land claim. The Crown has delayed our claim for so long that there have been 3 Canadian Human Rights Commission reports since 1993, calling Canada and the province to take immediate action to settle our land claim. NCC has already tried, through political pressure and court action, to stop our treaty process. NCC has made statements claiming that NCC has more rights to Innu lands than the Innu. NCC has no section of 35 rights. They are not indigenous group that can hold rights. They are descendants of settlers who try to reinvent themselves to access resources, services meant for legitimate indigenous people. NCC is attempting to rewrite history to erase Innu. It is wrong for Canada and the province to provide a way for a group that is not indigenous to claim Innu lands and rights. It is now the time the Innu say enough. Now we have enough for the delays of our treaty. It is wrong that even though the NCC is not indigenous, it is being treated the same as Innu, simply because NCC has political connections and powerful NCC members using their positions to push NCC false claim. We have enough of settlers like NCC trying to claim our lands. We have enough of racism toward Innu because we speak our language and we have our culture. Innu must again protect our rights, our lands, and our people. After this press conference, I will go back to courthouse. This is first time in court, but we will come back as many times as we need to protect our rights. And I'd like to say thank you, all of you. Let me go back to the speaker.
Nakamil tamani o Chiwlemi atiga Johannes Lampe Innu lagi o kamalo hawi malungalo kinauni ganik Innu hatikka 920 minute hawi matchialuit nani mangat lunit takwalu allait hawi maluit hawi mamio tamma Inunnik ovatinik hawi makhatigin na simakatta te mga swanit piusigi simal tabot atchigi mata tamatchimi atchayna nunamik atuatta itsa swanit atuhatigi simaligatta te ma piusiwot kinauni bullo marillogo. Thank you for joining us here today. First and foremost, my name is Johannes Lampe. I am an Inuk. I know who I am, and I know who our people are. We also know the Innu and who they are, and they also know us. We know each other quite well. Our histories are intertwined. Our lands are adjacent, and our shared experiences have shaped who we are. I want to recognize Innu Nation Grand Chief Pokue and ITK President Obed. It is a pleasure to be here with you today, though I wish it were under better circumstances. The Nunatsiavut government stands united with the Innu Nation in our pursuit of justice and our commitment to protecting our unique cultural identities. False claims to indigeneity threaten our collective progress as true Indigenous peoples. These false claims not only challenge our territorial integrity, but also erode the trust built over years of dialogue and collaboration. The Government of Canada must recognize that further discussions with the NunatuKavut Community Council would legitimize baseless assertions and compromise our true and inherent rights as Inuit. Nunatsiavut, our beautiful land, sustained Labrador Inuit long before there were treaties and courtrooms. As the only Inuit collective in Labrador, we carry deep within us an understanding of who we are. Our families, our heritage, and our connection to the land define our identity. As Inuit, our collective and traditional knowledge transcends borders. Inuit across Canada and throughout the circumpolar world share a common bond through our history, culture, and language. This knowledge shapes our individual identities and our place as Section 35 rights holders. This knowledge is the foundation of our existence. It has paved the way towards reconciliation through the negotiation of the Labrador Inuit Land Claims Agreement Act and the establishment of the Nunatsiavut government. Accepting false claims undermines what we fought so hard to achieve, the resilience and perseverance of our ancestors run through our veins, urging us to safeguard our heritage, our cultural identity, and to secure a better future for generations yet to come, our children and our grandchildren. Recognizing a settler group in Labrador whose members just a few short years ago identified themselves as Métis is harmful and disrespectful. This is not reconciliation. Let us stand firm in our resolve for truth and justice, to protecting our cultures, our histories, and our identities. As we navigate through conversations about indigeneity, we must remain vigilant, rejecting false claims and upholding our rightful place as Section 35 rights holders. Together, we will safeguard our lands, our identities, and our futures. Together, we are stronger. Nakamit.
Ulaku, good morning. My name is Natan Obed. I'm the president of Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami. I'm pleased to be here this morning with Grand Chief Pokue, with Regional Chief Picard, and with President Lampe. Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami is in full support of the Innu Nation and the Nunatsiavut government in the matters before the court this week. We are calling on Canada to uphold Inuit rights by ending its relationship with NCC and organizations like it, seeking to align with the recognized Indigenous people to secure lands, resources, and status. The agreement struck between NCC and the Government of Canada in 2019 must be nullified. ITK has been in opposition of the MOU since its inception. In October of 2021, Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami wrote a letter to the Prime Minister specifically on this issue. and asking the Prime Minister not only to end its MOU, but also to exclude NCC from accessing federal Inuit-specific programs intended to benefit Inuit. In September of 2023, at the Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami annual general meeting, we passed a resolution stating that NCC is not an Inuit collective and that its members are not capable of holding Section 35 rights, and they are not recognized by the members of ITK. Our board of directors is made up of the leadership of all of the modern treaty holders across Inuit Nunangat, the Inuvialuit Regional Corporation, Nunavut Tungavik, Makivik Corporation, and Nunatsiavut government. In November of 2023, ITK sent an open letter to governments and also to academia, providing context for this particular area and our position and our resolution, and we also really highlighted what is at stake. Inuit are one people who share a common history, language, culture, and way of life. We are bound to each other through this commonality and through our kinship and family ties. We know who we are and where our people are in Canada and throughout the circumpolar world. Since the early 1970s, Inuit have mobilized politically and through unity across Greenland, Canada, Alaska, and Russia. Our hope was at the time, which has been accomplished, is to create a partnership across Inuit Nunat, our entire homeland. And it was never our intention to exclude any Inuit or any particular parts of the Inuit collective. We do not believe we have excluded any Inuit in our unity across the circumpolar Arctic. We know who our Indigenous neighbors are as well, and we've worked closely with the Innu Nation to ensure that our rights are upheld and any threats to our rights and our treaty status are properly addressed. Inuit Crown treaties recognize and affirm the rights of Inuit under Section 35 of the Constitution of Canada. This affirmation came after decades of negotiations and legal battles and include extensive and detailed provisions regarding membership and citizenship in Inuit treaty organizations, provisions that the Crown required in order to have certainty with respect to who Inuit are. The federal government's response to NCC's advocacy has created confusion and undermines efforts to improve the socioeconomic conditions of Inuit, both inside and outside of Inuit Nunangat. I can't stress this enough, that our modern treaties have beneficiary provisions, and each one of those are negotiated provisions with the Government of Canada. This is not only the business of Indigenous peoples, it is also the business of the government to ensure that it upholds its requirements for who Inuit are in this country. Continued entertainment of NCC's claims by the federal government could create a disturbing precedent, potentially enabling similar groups with fraudulent claims to emerge and seek recognition of rights based on unfounded and illegitimate assertions. The path forward is for the federal government to implement the Inuit Nunangat policy to ensure that only Inuit treaty organizations and their members are eligible to access federal programs, policies, and initiatives that are intended to benefit Inuit. For decades, Inuit have fought Canada in recognition of our rights. Through modern treaties, we thought that we had a shared path moving forward in this country, which reaffirmed and implements our existing rights. Now we are forced to fight fraudulent groups that Canada has empowered, and this was never part of the deal. And we urge all Canadians to stand with us to ensure that fraudulent collectives do not gain standing based on the politics of the day in this country. Nakumik. I'll pass the floor now to Regional Chief Picard.
Thank you very much, Natan. Bonjour, je me présente Ghislain Picard, je suis de la nation Innu, mais également chef pour l'Assemblée des Premières Nations au Québec et au Labrador. Et je veux certainement relever l'importance du message que nous transmettons ce matin. Certainly want to acknowledge my colleagues, the head table here, Grand Chief Pokue and President Lampe and President Obed. A pleasure to be sharing the stage this morning for this, what I would call important reminder. And first off, I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered here this morning on traditional, ancestral, unceded lands of the Algonquin Nation. And I think it's very always important to respect those protocols. Je suis ici aujourd'hui au nom de l'Assemblée des Premières Nations Québec, Labrador, mais aussi au nom de notre organisation nationale pour soutenir la nation Innu du Labrador ou Labrador et le gouvernement de Nunatsiavut dans leur lutte pour protéger leurs droits contre la fraude collective de l'identité autochtone. La menace posée par ces nouveaux groupes qui apparaissent du jour au lendemain et qui revendiquent l'identité autochtone pour obtenir des droits et des ressources sur les terres des Premières Nations est l'une des plus graves à laquelle nous sommes confrontés aujourd'hui. Partout au Canada, ces nouveaux groupes revendiquent de manière très créative le statut de nation autochtone en s'appuyant sur des ancêtres lointains et en réécrivant l'histoire. En décembre 2023, les Premières Nations, représentées par l'Assemblée des Premières Nations, ont adopté à l'unanimité une résolution soutenant la Innu Nation dans sa contestation des revendications erronées du Conseil communautaire de NunatuKavut, qui prétend être une collectivité autochtone capable de détenir des droits en vertu de l'article 35. Lorsque tous les Inuits et plus de 630 Premières Nations disent au gouvernement qu'un groupe n'est pas légitime, le gouvernement doit les écouter. Il doit écouter les vrais peuples autochtones. L'autodétermination n'est pas un droit absolu ouvert à n'importe qui. In December 2023, last December, the First Nations represented by the Assembly of First Nations unanimously supported Innu Nation in its ongoing challenge to the false claims by NCC to hold Section 35 rights. When all Inuit and First Nations peoples tell the government a group isn't legitimate, government should listen. It needs to listen to Indigenous peoples. Self-determination is not an absolute right open to just anyone. The right to self-identify as an Indigenous person should not be used as a tool to harm the rights and interests of First Nations by taking away rights and resources intended for the original stewards of these lands. The Innu Nation's court case is about ensuring the government follows its own laws. Canada does not have the power to create new Indigenous nations that never existed. Governments must stop enabling the claims of groups like NCC, making unfounded claims to be Indigenous rights holders. Innu Nation is sounding the alarm that the dangers of what the government is doing by enabling these type of unfounded claims. The Assembly of First Nations is here to support and stand with the Innu Nation, the Nunatsiavut government, and Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami. Merci. Jusqu'à maintenant. Thank you.
We can now start the question and answer portion of this press conference. If we have any questions online, now is the time to use your raise hand function at the bottom of your screen. I will give you a couple of minutes. In the meantime, if you have any further questions, you are invited to contact the Communications Department of the Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami. And I believe that concludes our press conference today. Thank you.